Right, okay, let me start over. All right, today I am starting seeds in the fall that I can plant out in my Zone 8A garden and provide them zero frost protection. They are perennials and cold hardy annuals. Perennials are those plants that are gonna come back every year, and annuals are the plants that you have to plant every year. You've got cold hardy annuals that can handle and actually really thrive in cooler temperatures. And then you've got annuals like zinnias and celosia that you have to plant out after your last frost because they will not make it. I am going to be starting today several things. I'm going to start purple coneflower, and I'm going to start blanket flower, rose crown obedient plant, and wild bergamot. These are all native flowers. Some of them are perennials, and the seed packets will typically tell you the information you need. So this blanket flower seed packet tells me that it is a perennial and it can grow in zones 3 to 10. And the purple coneflower is also a perennial, so I know I can plant it now. Some other examples that I've already started are things like stock, larkspur. So this seed packet from Renee's Garden is especially great. It says it is a frost hardy annual, and in mild winter climates, you can sow seeds in late fall to germinate and form deep roots over the winter for a long spring bloom. And it tells you what to do if you're in colder areas. I really like the information on the backs of the Renee's Garden seeds. I'm also gonna probably do some sweet Joe Pye weed and tall ironweed. However, a lot of the natives want a cold, not dry stratification process, and that is just not something I like to do because I'm lazy. So a lot of times I try and germinate the natives without doing the cold stratification. Here's an example. I did some swamp milkweed. I've already pricked, great, my neighbors decided to do yard work right now. I've already pricked out a couple of these and potted them up. So I would say out of 20 seeds that I put in this tray, 6 germinated. So not awesome, but it's enough for me. All right, let me show you what I'm gonna be doing today. I've got my $8 cement mixing tub from one of the big box stores. I am going to sift it because I don't like purchasing seed starting mix. I don't typically like what they're made out of. A lot of them have peat in them. I also don't typically like that they are a little tricky with their wording. I think the Jiffy one specifically will say like great nutrient retention, but then when you look at the ingredients, there are no nutrients in the seed starting mix. So once that seed has its second set of leaves, it probably is going to need nutrition. When a seed germinates, it has all the nutrition it needs for its first set of leaves inside of the seed. But beyond that, if your seed starting mix does not have any nutrients in it, you're going to need to fertilize. I like to use a really awesome organic potting mix that I like, and then I just sift it. So I made this DIY sifter with some scrap wood. You can even see like the boards weren't even the same sizes. It's whatever I could find in the shed. And I just screwed them together. And then I used a staple gun and I stapled this fine mesh onto the bottom. I made mine the perfect size to fit on this cement mixing tub so that it's really easy to sift. All right, this is what I use. I have no affiliation with this company. This is Fox Farms. This is their Coco Loco, and the reason why I use this is because it doesn't have any peat in it. Some of their other products have peat in it. This one does not, and the cocoa core, which I'm super wary of, is triple washed to reduce the salinity. Plus it also has nutrients in it like bat guano and worm castings. But if you're not peat free, that's no big deal. Any organic, good quality potting mix that you like, you can sift it and that becomes your seed starting mix. There's no reason to pay extra money for a bag of seed starting mix because you're paying someone else to sift it for you. If you don't want to make your own DIY sifter, you can simply buy a colander from the dollar store and that can be your sifter. I used that for a really long time before I made this. So I am just going to be sifting this because This particular potting mix does have some larger pieces of bark or wood fines. Sometimes it does have rocks in it. And it has some larger pieces of perlite. The reason I want to get rid of those or sift those out and add them to like a potted plant behind me is because the seeds are often quite small, and I don't want the little baby roots to have to try and work around a large chunk of bark. Okay. This is what we're left with. I'll add that to one of my citrus trees behind me after I do this. And here is what we've got. So it's this really great texture of really good quality potting mix. Okay, let's talk about containers. So you have two options when you're in a warmer zone and you're starting things outside in fall. You can just put the containers, you can start your seeds and then put the containers outside without a humidity dome. You will need to stay on top of watering them because if the seeds start germinating and then dry out, they will die. So you have to really be vigilant. Also, you have to worry about wildlife deciding to get in here. I've had slugs decimate my seedlings. I've had birds decide that they looked really tasty. So doing it outside is a nice option. However, it does come with some risk. Or you can bring it inside and put a humidity dome on it. You do not want to put a humidity dome on it outside because if you've got a situation like this going on and with the sun, it's going to have a greenhouse effect to the point where it's going to heat up so hot inside of your tray that things are going to get scorched and burnt and die. A lot of the things we're starting for fall, they like temperate temperatures to germinate, but they don't need super hot temperatures to germinate like tomatoes and peppers. All right, I've got my potting mix and let's talk about containers. If I'm starting a bunch of something, I might start it in a container like this, where I can just put some soil in, put a bunch of seeds. This one has holes, this one does not, and start them. And then when it's time, when they get big, I can carefully prick them out and pop them up. That's if I'm starting a bunch of something, or if I'm starting something and I'm not sure the germination and I don't want to take up a lot of space. You can also start them in cell trays like this. And the reason I like doing cell trays like this is because if I'm starting a bunch of different things, like 6 of the ironweed and 6 of the Joe Pye weed and 6 of the bells of Ireland, they're all gonna germinate at different times, which means they're going to need to come out of the humidity dome at different times. If you start your seeds in a tray like this and maybe do bells of Ireland here and something else here and pansies here, well, when they start germinating at different times, some of them still need the humidity dome and some do not. It's very difficult. All right, you don't have pots or trays, that's okay. You can use takeout food containers. You have two options with this. You can use an ice pick or something else to put holes in the bottom so it has drainage, and then put it on top of something to catch the water when it drains. Or if you're just very careful and vigilant, like I started seeds in this, I didn't do any holes in here. I was just really careful about how I watered so that I didn't drown the seeds. But these are especially nice because they have lids, so they have a built-in humidity dome. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start some seeds. I'm just going to fill my containers with my potting mix. And one thing that I do that is different from a lot of people, hold on, I do not pre-wet my soil. I don't like trying to fill containers with wet soil. I feel like it gets compacted. What I like to do is I fill my container and then I add the water, and you know, the soil level is going to sink down just a little bit. And then I just sprinkle some more on top from where it's settled. Perfect. Okay. I am going to start some more cone flour because something ate all the cone flour in the pocket prairie. I think it's rabbits. So when I have little seedlings ready to go out, I am going to make sure that I put some chicken wire or something on top of them and protect them this time. The ones that I planted in my raised bed have not been touched, so that is kind of nice. I like to put 2 seeds per cell just to hedge my bets in case one doesn't germinate. I'm just going to set them on top of the soil for now so I can see where I put them. And then one of my favorite things to use is a skewer. I'm just going to push them down, and I'm aiming for double the width of the seed in terms of how deep I'm putting them down in the soil. You want the seeds, certain seeds, to have enough pressure of soil on top of them so that they can break out of their seed casing. Some seeds need light to germinate, and the seed packet will tell you that. And in that case, I would not push them under the soil. I would just press them into the top of the soil without covering them. And then I would put just a little fine layer of vermiculite on top. I forgot to bring the vermiculite out. Actually, there's some in the garage. I'm gonna go grab it real quick. I also forgot my spray bottle. So at this point in time, I would spray the tops with a spray bottle of water. I would also label it. I like to use painter's tape. I just put painter's tape on the edge of the container, and then I grab an art line marker. These are the only markers I have used that I have found don't fade. What is this? Cone flour. All right. And today is the 23rd. Sharpies fade, pencil fades. These art line garden markers, which I get off Amazon, are the only ones that seem to not fade for me. Let me go grab the vermiculite. I use fine grade vermiculite. I actually think this is for like frog aquariums. I also get it off of Amazon. It's linked to my Amazon storefront. There we go. That's what it looks like. Got it labeled. It's gonna go in a 10-20 tray with a humidity dome. I'll spray the top of the seed tray every couple days. I'm gonna have this inside my house where it's about 68 degrees. Once the tray sprouts, I'm gonna take it out of the humidity dome because otherwise the little seedlings will rot. And then it's gonna go outside. I have all of my seedlings, I'll turn you around and show you, outside in the sun. I don't use grow lights for these. I don't wanna set up my grow station yet. So everything goes out in the sun. And that is its grow light. That's all it needs. Let me see if I can turn you around. Okay, see the table over there? That has all of my fall seedlings. There's snapdragons, foxglove, goldenrod, pansies, and a bunch of vegetables, blue glitter sea holly. It's all over there. And I have checked the forecast. It is not supposed to rain in like the next 10 days. Otherwise, I would have to be careful. If I left it out in the rain, they could all drown and die. All right, so that was cone flour. All right, let's start a bunch of something. Let's start a bunch of pansies. Pansies are super cold hardy. They will bloom all winter long. They will bloom in the snow, at least for me, in zone 8A, formerly 7B. These pansies I saved myself, so I don't know about their viability, and they're from 2022. Not ideal. Pansy seeds don't have a super long shelf life, but I want to see what they might do. So I'm just going to take my food container. I'm going to fill it with some of my sifted Coco Loco. Add some water. Not too much though, because this one does not have drainage holes. I'm just going to be very careful. I did an experiment last year about whether or not pansies need light or darkness to germinate. I found zero difference in whether or not I gave them light or darkness. Take that for with what you will. Some seed sellers will say they absolutely need light. Some will say they absolutely need darkness. Okay. Oh, wow. There's a lot of these. I'm going to start them all because I don't know their viability. I'm just going to sprinkle them on top. And then I will take some vermiculite to help keep moisture in, but still allow light while they germinate. There's the humidity dome. All that's left to do is label it. If you have a question, if you would drop it in the question bubble at the bottom, I'll be able to see it. Sometimes when things are put in the comments, it's really hard to scroll back and find them all. That way I won't miss anything. All right, pansies, 1023. All right, let me show you these. So these are goldenrod, and I started them. This is the tray I started them in. These are the same ones. I started them on September 15th. I started them indoors under a humidity dome. Once they sprouted, they came outside. They've just been under the direct sun. Natives are typically slow growing. That's okay. And I did start to prick out some and pot them up just so that they have more room. Their roots can get healthier before I transplant them out. All right. What's next? I'm gonna do blanket flower next. I really like blanket flower. It's also called Giardia. I don't know if I ever say that right. It's a perennial. And here's the thing, it's a perennial, and it says start indoors 6 to 8 weeks before last frost. But if it's a perennial, it can live year round in my area. So as long as it is hardened off, it should be able to transplant and be okay to bloom next year. But we're gonna try it. I mean, not everything works 100% of the time, but seeds are so much less expensive than buying plants that this is my favorite way to experiment with what is gonna do well in my area, in my yard. Because even my neighbor down the street who gardens and will share plants, trade plants, share seeds, sometimes stuff works in my yard and doesn't work in hers, and vice versa. So you shouldn't feel bad if something works for them and it doesn't work for you. You just got to try and figure out what works best in your area, in your yard. All right. Add some water. After I do these 3 trays, I'm going to walk you around the corner and show you the snapdragons that I started in August and transplanted out and how great they're doing. And they will get no frost protection this winter. They will do just fine. Snapdragons are one of my favorite cold hardy annuals to start. They just do so well for me. Okay. This also looks like seeds I saved myself, so I'm unsure of the germination. So I'm gonna put a pinch in each cell. If a bunch germinate, I can either prick them out and pot them up, or I can just cut them and get rid of them. And they're tiny seeds, so I'm just gonna cover them with vermiculite. Again, I'm aiming for the seed depth when planting to be 2 times the width of the seed, like the fattest part of the seed. But when a seed is super tiny, doing a layer of vermiculite on top is enough covering. I'm gonna check for questions right now. Do you direct sow any fall seeds besides poppies? All right. Yes, I do. However, I have found that the squirrels and the birds, it's pissing them off, and they are digging them up and kind of tossing them around. So that is very frustrating. I have direct sown a lot of seeds in my pocket prairie, and I don't have a lot to show for it. So because I have a lot of squirrel and bird pressure, direct sowing has not always worked well for me, but it works well for a lot of people. So again, it's going to be something that you're going to want to try yourself in your yard and see how it does. Another thing with direct sowing, like I love the idea of it. It's so easy. Scatter some seeds, press it into the soil, water it in, let nature do it. I never know like what actually germinated, what germinated and got eaten by a rabbit, what germinated got eaten by a slug. So I don't like the not knowing. And if I start it from seed, I can say, nothing germinated. Definitely gonna cold stratify next time like the seed packet told me to. Or, wow, everything germinated super great. I know I'm putting 6 echinacea in the pocket prairie. And then if I come back out and there's only 1 left, then I know something ate it. And now I know I need to put like chicken wire around it. I feel like I have just more control when I start them instead of direct sowing. But that being said, I still direct sow because I have a ton of seeds and I like to hedge my bets. Okay, if you've asked a question, I would love you to put it in the question bubble. Can you remind me of your zone? I'm 8A, but last year I was 7B. So I don't think things have changed too much. Keep going. Okay, we're almost done. I have left, what else was I gonna do? Oh, there they are. Okay, I wanna do wild bergamot. This is something I grew in my Monarch way station last year. It was gorgeous. The pollinators loved it. All right, these seeds are super tiny, so I'm just going to put them on the surface of the soil. And then I'll put vermiculite on top. I save these seeds myself. So again, I don't know how the germination is gonna be. So I'm putting a bunch in each cell. And then just a light sprinkle of the vermiculite that helps keep the moisture in. If I had my spray bottle, I'd give it another squirt. Almost forgot to label that one. Okay. Last one, we're gonna try this rose crown obedient plant. I have been trying to grow this forever. I have heard that obedient plant can be actually the opposite of obedient and get a little bit unruly, but because the goal is for this to be in the pocket prairie, that sounds good to me. Lavender pink 1-inch funnel shaped flowers on 10-inch spikes in the summer. Sounds awesome. Wish I could grow it. This will be the 3rd year I'm trying. 2 feet tall. Germination is irregular over 10 to 42 days. Okay, so that's good to know, right? Like I'm not gonna just toss the tray out at like the 3-week mark, because I might need to go 6 weeks before these germinate. Man, that is a long time. Okay, let's try it again. Seeds are pretty tiny. I'm gonna do them all. We're gonna go all in on it this year. This will probably be the last year I try it. May have been a poor choice to sit in front of my citrus plants because the bees are really loving the flowers on the lime tree behind me. I don't mind the bees, but I don't want them getting caught in my hair. I have been stung, gosh, by a bee or a wasp, I think 14 or 15 times in my life. I've just had my fill. I don't need any more. Okay. I'm even gonna put a note on this tray of seeds about the germination time so I don't forget. 10 to 42 days. That's actually not the longest germination time of something I've tried to grow. I tried to grow something called Spring Beauty, and I think it's like 2 years. Okay, what was this? Obedient plant. All right. No, don't start up. Ugh. Let me show you a couple things and then we'll end because yard work has started next door. Okay. Oh, let me turn you around. So this is my setup for the seeds I've started. We've got blue glitter sea holly. We've got pansies, foxglove, more foxglove, tatsoi. Down here we've got Japanese anemone and foxglove. We've got a bunch of vegetables, a lot of vegetables, an experiment we got going on. And then over here, here are my foxgloves. So we have a layer of like wood mulch down in this bed. I did a layer of 3 inches of potting mix. This is Soil Cube veggie mix. And I transplanted my snapdragons directly into this. They'll do fine. Their roots will eventually grow down all the way through the mulch. And they're branching on their own. They're doing great. Will not cover those at all winter long. Here's a bunch more. I mean, I'll lose some, like some of the squirrels will come over and make a mess of this, but that's okay. I do think some of the squirrels have already gotten some out of here. I'll just scatter some more snapdragon seeds and see what happens. Okay. I think that is it for today. You can always DM me any questions you have. We're gonna go inside. That is a horrible noise. All right, I'll see you guys later.